All right. So let's start with some celebration. I'll be real honest. This is going to bug me that I didn't finish that. I wanted to look up everyone's like projected volume and post that because I was looking at it today, and there are a lot of people who have like 500 plus on projected volume, which is awesome and something that we should definitely be striving for, and it's worth celebrating. But I just did not have the time to put it all on a sheet. But I do want to recognize that there are several of you who have a very high projected volume, which means you're helping customers. You might not necessarily have the Success Club points to reflect what you're doing, but you are helping people, and that volume reflects that. So I just want to celebrate that with y'all and tell you well done on that. And also, just this girl isn't getting on until the end, but y'all look at this. How awesome is that? Haley has 18 Success Club points. She's killing it, and she's just doing awesome. She is running her own challenge group right now. I could say the same. I know several of you are running your own challenge group, but Haley and Madison both are kind of doing a challenge group for the first time. They're on my mind just because I talked to them today about their challenge group, but I just wanted to recognize them because I feel like they just jumped in with both feet, and they're like, I don't really know what I'm doing, but I'm just like, I'm talking to people and they're engaging, and that's what it's about. So several of you, I could say the same for probably everyone, but I just wanted to recognize them especially. But get back over here. Okay, I want to move my screen over to my calendar, and I don't know if y'all have seen this as I've updated it, but this is on the business planner. So you know, this whole thing here. I am constantly updating my calendar right here because I want you to be able to see what I'm doing. You don't have to follow it by any means, but if you ever are wondering like when's our next like coaching business opportunity webinar, or like when is Jamie doing a free group, like I want you to be able to see it. And so this is one of the things that I did work on while we were in Mexico, and it was really fun to do because I sat through some meetings where Autumn and Joel and Chris came out and talked about some different things with Carl that's coming up and that's releasing. And I like had the screen open the whole time that they were talking. It was about 2 hours worth of stuff. And I was just like trying to figure out like, okay, what's the, like based on when the launch of this is, when's the best time to do all of these things. So I just want y'all to be aware of this. I've filled it out through July as far as like special dates. I haven't broken it down by like just social media ideas, but I kind of do that 1 month at a time. But I wanted to make sure I hit the big highlights. So just for what's coming up soon, To Be Mindset, we're going to talk about that a little bit more in a minute, but it does launch on Wednesday of next week, which means that is when it is available to purchase. That's also when the coach test group with Alana will start. And you can see I've kind of talked a little bit, even in the previous, like this week, I've focused some things on that with my post and with my stories. But the second is when it launches. So technically we're doing like 2 weeks, 10 days with just a coach only test group. And then on the 14th is when challengers can actually join. So challengers can purchase here, but the actual challenge group that will start with them is the 14th. And we're going to talk, like I said, in just a minute, we're going to talk about what that challenge group stuff looks like. But just wanted y'all to see this. We'll plan on a coaching webinar. The next one that I'll be doing is the 19th. So you can feel free to invite to that, join in on that. Be thinking ahead to Lift 4 coming out. It will be released in June on the 11th. That's kind of pre-summit that it goes on sale. Summit is all going to be focused on what that program is, how to launch it well, how to get people excited about it. A lot of announcements always come out at Summit for the remainder of the year. it's just like there's a lot of cool stuff that always comes out. They kind of save that as an announcement point. So that's coming as well. But you don't get access to it until the 16th. So you can see that they're kind of creating this pattern of like something goes on sale and then they're starting this early like VIP access to something on BOD. So if you wait and don't purchase like the VIP access in this like 4-week period here, then you will get it eventually on Beachbody On Demand, but not until October the 1st. And now I know that if we're looking at this from a customer standpoint, we're like, well, I thought like BOD would give us access to everything like always. And why do we have to pay to get it early? And, you know, it can kind of be like, well, that stinks. Well, you are still getting it eventually. It's just in October. And what's cool about this is that it has the potential to increase our volume, which increases our paycheck. And so it's really a great, smart business move by the company. And I want us to see it that way. And I don't know if I want to go off on this tangent or not, but yeah, I will. And I'll ask for forgiveness later. But we are running a business, and it's important when you're looking through, and I can have more like one-on-one conversations with you if you're curious like what this looks like. But Nick and I have realized, and Nick's really been, he's kind of like the money person that helps me with some numbers and stuff, but it is just sidebar, totally off subject kind of this. It's good for you to realize that you do need to invest money into your business in order to grow it. And so things like, I'm not saying you have to buy everything every time it comes out, but as you are able to grow your business and grow your income, you don't need to see everything you make as stuff that you can like go use for vacations and stuff. Like some of it needs to be put back into your business and to growing your business. And just being very transparent with you. I don't know if this is a good or a bad thing, but I'm just like, whatever, I'll tell y'all. I made last year, I think it was about 16,000, a little over 16,000 with my coaching business. And we were able to write off with our taxes 10,000 of that. So 10,000 of that 16,000 we put back into the business in some form. So that just, I mean, a lot of that, you know, you think of Shakeology orders and membership orders, and I mean, that includes travel, so like airplane tickets, like, you know, summit, like conferences, stuff like that. So that's kind of, that can get that number high really quickly. But I just want you to hear that, to see that, especially early on in your business, it's not that you're pocketing all this money. Like if you're wanting to continue growing it, you need to really be strategic about putting that money back into your business and trying to save it, if at all possible, so that when these launches come out, you can, you know, be able to participate in those. Because I know that it's all money and finances, and it's it can be challenging. But anyways, sidebar done, back on track. Y'all look at this, let me know if you have any questions about any of it. Let's go back to our PowerPoint. Okay, so here's let's talk about this 2B mindset plan for just a second, or as long as we need to. Here's a couple of options with some things we got going on, and I want your feedback, so everybody get ready to unmute and tell me what you think. This model of doing this coach-only test group came from Melissa, our upline coach from Fit Legacy. And it came also from, like, Melissa got it from Stephanie Richardson, who was in the original 2B Mindset test group. They talked about doing this model of this 2 weeks coach only, then add challengers. They talked about it while we were in Cancun. So it's very strategic, something we should follow. So here's the deal. Melissa is running a coach-only test group that will transition into a challenger test group. I'm guessing with the same dates that I just showed you on my calendar, because she and I talked about those dates a couple of weeks ago, and I think unless she's changed them, they're the same. So she's running that, and I was planning on running one as well. So we've got a couple of options for how we want to do this. Option one is I'm going to be in her group regardless of if I run one, because I'm always wanting to learn from her. And probably what I would do is like look at everything she's doing, and if there's something I find helpful, which probably will be, that she's sharing, especially in regards to social media and marketing and how to, get challengers on board with 2B Mindset, I would share that in the Coach Test Group Challenge group that I'm running for our team. So option one is you could be in, like what I'm going to do, you could be in Melissa's group, and you could also be in my group. You could also run your own group and not be in either one of ours if you want to. I mean, each of you are your own, CEO. So you can choose to do what you want. I'm just giving you some ideas and some options. The difference, I'm guessing, between the group I will run and what Melissa will run is mine will be probably a little bit more, it would be, if I run one, a little bit more focused on the culture that I cultivate, which is, a lot of spiritual language, a lot of just applying this to our faith, and probably looking at some things from Made to Crave, like what you're used to from me. That's how I would run my group. So this is important because if your business is not as discipleship focused and ministry focused, if it's more of an evangelistic focus for you and you're reaching out to non-believers, then you might want something separate from my group, if that makes sense. If your avatar is mainly believers whom you're kind of discipling, then you may want them in my group or want something similar. Melissa's group will probably be a little bit more mainstream, so not as targeted with that kind of language. Y'all all know she is a believer, but I think she kind of conducts her business to be a little more sensitive to a broader interpretation of what faith is, if that makes sense. Neither way of running a business is wrong at all. It's just a different approach. So I just want you to take that into consideration as you're considering the culture that you want to cultivate with your own people and what would be a good fit for them. So that's one option is, I run a group, Melissa has a group, and we can be in any or both or whatever. Another option is that we all just plan on being in Melissa's group, and I don't do a separate group. And instead, like, to kind of cultivate that culture that I, like to cultivate, we have a WhatsApp group text. So everyone is in Melissa's group, but there's this WhatsApp group text that kind of focuses in and allows our people to talk, a little bit more intimately. If you haven't seen this in action, those of us who are doing the 80-day obsession one that started April 23rd, it's working really well right now, I think, because those people are all in a challenge group, in different challenge groups even. They're not all in my intentional living group. Like, they're different people's challengers, but it's people who are all doing the same program at the same time. And so it's a place where they feel like they can go for specific questions or just to kind of talk about their program and maybe not feel like they're bugging, everybody else in their challenge groups who are doing different programs, basically. So I'm trying to kind of experiment with that some more and move towards that model a little bit more of, like, if I have multiple, y'all know, because I run an ongoing group, if I have multiple people who, who are doing 21-day fix together, I may put them in a WhatsApp group text together. Now, I know a lot of you, kind of your platform for doing that is a Facebook group. So just kind of translate it however it works well for your business. But those are a couple of options. And I just want to kind of, we can take as long as we need or want to discuss this, even if it's the whole call. I'm curious what your thoughts are, what y'all feel like would be best for each of your businesses, knowing that we don't all have to be in agreement. Like, we can branch off and do different things, and that's totally fine. I'm just wondering, from my standpoint, if you feel like it would be helpful for me to run for y'all, a Team Redefining Fitness Coach Test Group Challenge group that will have value like what Melissa provides, with a little bit more focused on our culture. I do want to say one benefit to us being in Melissa's group is that it will probably be a bigger group. So bigger groups, that can be a turnoff from some people, but for a lot of people, it can mean more excitement and more, engagement, and just more people speaking into that. So regardless, this coach test group, challenge group will all be done on Facebook. It will be a Facebook group, because To Be Mindset does not translate into the My Challenge Tracker app, because you're not logging workouts and stuff. So I hope that makes sense. Somebody talk and give me your feedback. I'll get a drink of water.
I mean, I will want something. Can y'all hear me? Yeah. Okay. I would want something that is involved with the culture that we have. So if that, if that means that we run one or you run one, I mean, that's why I like our team and our tribe, for that culture. If, personally, I have been terrible about WhatsApp. And so that would be more difficult for me. I do see the value in somebody being in Melissa's group or me being in Melissa's group. If that's how we choose to do it, that we all join her group and have a WhatsApp on the side, then I would try to be more a part of that. I just, I appreciate what you offer helping us, because that's, the culture that I want to create is a discipleship model. And so you doing that and showing me how to do that helps as I'm coaching my team. So, I think discipleship is an element of what we do and what I want to accomplish as well. So, so basically I don't care. I just need that to be a part.
That's helpful. I think one of my children just got a spanking. Could anyone hear that? What else?
Probably hear my husband in the background calling Mario a little fart.
Oh.
The more I think about it, the more I kind of like, and whether it's like Facebook group and WhatsApp or whether it's another format, I kind of like the idea of having kind of both approaches to it, like our team culture and more discipleship, more like spiritual aspects, and then also like, not that Melissa's group is going to be void of all of that, but it's going to be a different outlook and a different approach. And I think that could be helpful, since one, I just like selfishly feel like I haven't done it, so I don't have that good of a handle on it to like be able to help somebody else. Hopefully that'll happen in the 2 weeks before it starts. But I also feel like, because it seems like it's so focused on your mindset and how you think and how you process, that maybe it's beneficial to have as many different like types of thinking and operating and talking about it as possible. Like maybe that would offer, I don't know, if it would be helpful to have both, because everybody's different and everybody thinks differently.
Yeah. Well, and I guess technically, like, Melissa could run her group and I could run my group, and we could all be in both if we wanted to, and we could decide where to put a challenger based on who that challenger is. So if we feel like maybe we're having a conversation with someone who would be a better fit in Melissa's group, then we put them in there. And because we're checking in one-on-one with our challengers anyways. As long as, like, I would say, don't put a challenger in Melissa's group if you're not in that group at all. Like, you don't want to just like send them out. Like, you want to, be there with them. But I guess that's an option too. So.
Yeah, I'm thinking I would like to do the both groups like that, just so I could see how Melissa's wording it and kind of how she's spinning it. And then same thing for ours, like see how you're portraying it. And that way, depending on your challenger, you can kind of get a feel for where they would go.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Lindsay too, like I still am trying to get a handle on it. And so
Oh, me too.
I'm like, any information I can see, the better. Like, so, so I guess with this, like, we're going to be a part of it, but we're actually going to be inviting people to that group.
Basically, you'll be talking to people, and if y'all haven't seen it, in your coach office, if you go under shareable media, to be mindset, or just grow your business, to be mindset, it has a tracker sheet. They've started doing this. They did this with 80 Day Obsession, and I love it. They create a tracker sheet for people who they've got a page for customers who like want you to send them a share a cart link when it launches, and then a sheet for coaches who want you to send them a share a cart link. And so as you're talking to people now, and I just do like people who are expressing interest, I've got their name on that list. So when May 2nd gets here, I'm going to have like their email address, I'm going to have their phone number, and I'm going to be able to text them and say, hey, you ready? Like, here's your share a cart link, or, just, I want to be ready for that launch on that day. That's what I did with 80 Day Obsession. It was it was the most powerful launch I've ever had, because I had all those names in one place for those people who are ready. So you'll be doing that, talking to people and kind of creating your list and telling them they can purchase on May 2nd, but they're not going to get started with the program until the 16th or whatever, that 14th, whatever that day is. And so you will add them, like we would have our coach test group basically starting the 2nd, but we won't add them to that group until the start date for them.
Okay, gotcha.
And the way I've been telling people is I want to get a little bit of a handle on this for the first 2 weeks so that I can better coach you through it. And so if you're like, I haven't really asked people to commit to buying it. I've just said, do you want me to keep you in the loop as I begin experiencing it and share with you the details? And they're like, sure, Okay, well, any other input on that? If that, okay, then my plan moving forward will be to run a Team Redefining Fitness group, and then also be in Melissa's. And I will share anything that I find is helpful from Melissa in mine in case you're not in it. But I would encourage you, if you feel like you have the capacity to check both groups, there is a lot to be learned from her for sure. And so if you're able to get in her group and see how she handles it all, she's been so generous to share with us the water challenge material and the veggie challenge material, and just to, just be able to take that and use it has been so awesome. So
how can we thank her for that? Like, is it appropriate to post in that big group? Like, is she giving this to everybody, or has she just given it to you?
I would just reach out to her individually and tell her, just tell her that I shared it with y'all, what she had shared with me, and that you're really grateful for it.
Okay.
I don't know that she gives it to every single person on Fit Legacy, because I haven't seen her post that. But yeah, she's been very, very generous with us.
Yeah. So. It's been so nice to have it already done, and yeah.
Yeah, and think of that, like, as you bring your own new coaches on. Hi, Nathaniel. As you bring your own new coaches on, like, you've got that to give them. Like, they can immediately start that, as soon as they're ready for a free group. Like, it's great material. It's a very easy way to, even some people will run free groups before they ever run a challenge group, just to kind of get their feet wet with some kind of group, So good stuff for sure. Okay, well, that'll be the plan. Option 1 moving forward. Where am I? Okay. We got a little bit of time here, not much, but National Wake Up Call. Has anyone had a chance to listen to it? Yes.
I couldn't find it. Where was it? Is it in the podcast?
I don't think they've put it on the podcast yet. I haven't seen it if they have. They're real, like, it differs every week when they do. Sometimes they get it up immediately and sometimes not. But it's originally put, like when it happens live, it's on the TBB Coach 411 info, some combination of that phrase on Facebook page. That's where I found it, and you can actually watch them talking, which is kind of cool because I'm always like picturing who they are whenever I'm listening to it. But yeah, that's where I found it. So she basically said she didn't want the call to be about why you need to be consistent, because I think we all know, like, why it's important. If you don't know why, read The Compound Effect and you'll be sold on why it's important. But she really focused on how to be consistent. And it was really a very it was easy to take notes from this. And I didn't put all my notes on slides. I just put the basics. But she basically said you need to be organized and intentional with kind of 3 different things: your activities, and really have a list for all of these things. Have a list for your activities, have a list that you work from on who you're talking to, and have a list of what to do with your time. And a lot of those kind of interweave. But on activities, I love that she broke it down into basically 2 lists: a non-negotiable list, like things that have to get done, and an if you have time list. On your business planner, the way I've kind of phrased this is like, I've made a list for you of like the most important things, down to if you have extra time, then you can do these things. But she took it a step further, and I liked this. She made the point, some things don't fit on either list. And I think it's okay, like we can all take a deep breath. Not everything we encounter has to go on one of these 2 lists. And Renee and I were actually talking about this while she was in Cancun, because she attended the same meeting that I went to. And it's like this, when you go to a Super Sunday or Super Saturday, when you go to Summit, when you go to anything where they're giving you all this information, it's like, oh my gosh, what do I do with all of it now? Like, I feel like I've got to like have this plan unfolded quickly. But Renee and I were talking about just how to kind of sort through that. And a piece of advice that I got, I think it was right after Summit last year, from Danielle Natoni, like top 20 coach, is that she takes a day to kind of decompress first after all that. And then she goes back through all the notes she's taken and she highlights things. And then if she has highlighted more than like 3 to 5 things, she goes back and just circles like the top 3. And lets everything go to a later on list, but just focusing on the things that you have the capacity to focus on now, like what's the most important. And so one of the examples that Dara gave for things that don't fit on either list is, like, for her specifically, is creating graphics. Like, she was like, I'm not good at it. I'm not gonna waste my time. Like, it does not matter. I'm not gonna spend time creating graphics. She said early on in her business, one of the things that she took off of both lists was chatting with other coaches, like just getting kind of sucked into this. Let's talk about all the things we need to do and never actually doing it. And so she realized she needed to just kind of take a step back. And y'all, I feel like I'm getting off on all these tangents tonight, but a year before I decided to work my business, I watched a girl I went to high school with build her business. Like, I just watched her. And I was a coach already. And so I would kind of like talk to people every now and then about things. But I wish I'd quit watching and just jumped in, like, where would we be now if a year prior to when I started, I had actually started, instead of just like following this other person. But anyways, she even said she doesn't create PowerPoints for her Zoom calls. And that kind of had me like, is that necessary? Like, do I need to do that? I don't feel like it takes up much of my time right now, because I take notes on the National Wake Up Call. So it's not complicated, but I want you to hear that so that as you look in the future to if and when you want to lead your own team calls, like, it doesn't mean you have to have PowerPoint. Just because you see me do it does not mean you have to do it that way. It does not mean anybody has to do it that way. Like, there's freedom to keep things simple. And I really want to encourage you to do that and to ask questions. If you see me doing something and you think you have to do it, ask me, please, because chances are you probably don't. It's just like the way I'm wired. So I hope that kind of gives permission to have some freedom in things a little bit. But your non-negotiables are mainly like, it's going to be your vitals. The things that it's like 2 to 3 things that are income producing activities that you need to do every day. Sharing on social media, inviting people to the business, running a challenge group, having a challenge group to invite to every month, genuinely connecting with people. She talked a little bit about how she defines connecting, which we've talked about before, really good stuff. But secondly, she talked about, you need to have a list of who you're talking to. And she broke that down into 3 categories. Again, this is a lot of the stuff that's on your business planner. You want to be talking to your current customers. You want to be following up with people who you've already invited or talked to about the business or about a challenge group. And then connections. I liked how she defined connections. She said those are simply the people she wants to build relationships with. No pressure to invite until or unless the time feels right. So there is a category for that in there. Connections will lead into invitations, but defining a connection does not mean that you're inviting, right out of the gate. But she just, she said, be organized, keep it simple, operate effectively. And I love that sentence that I put on the slide. Lists make me consistent with the people I'm talking to, whether it's customers, follow-ups, or connections. And so just thinking about that, like a list isn't just something that we need to, it's not just something for organized people or people that enjoy lists. Like it helps us be consistent with people. And we want to be consistent because we want to, for lack of a better term, provide really great customer service to people and show them that we care about them by not forgetting them or moving them, to the bottom of a list because they've said no to us or something. I just liked how she worded that. And then lastly, have a list, when it comes from your time, know when you're going to work. She made the point that setting business hours early in your business might seem intimidating when you don't have an hour at a time. But she said, if you're working from a list and you get to work for 15 minutes, then you go through that list. And then when you get another pocket of 15 minutes, you just pick up where you left off. And so there's no pressure to work in 2-hour increments or anything like that. You just know, I'm just going to go down this list. And the things at the bottom of the list are not the non-negotiables. So if I don't get to them today, it's okay. Like, they can wait until another day. But I'm going to get these first few things done first in whatever time I have and just go from that list. And she made the point, like, know when there are seasons where you don't do a lot of the things, but simply do the most important things well and consistently. Like, I know, like, just for me recently, when we had Launchbox over spring break, being involved in ministry, there are seasons where you don't have the capability to do all the things. And so I did not talk as much to my customers that week as I did to those I was inviting. That's how I decided to spend my time, was on growing my business in that sense. I didn't talk to y'all as much that week. I kind of had this, I'm going to do connections. I'm going to then maybe talk to customers if I get a chance. And then if I get a chance, I'll talk to coaches. Like that was just a week that I knew it was going to be crazy. That's what I had the capacity for. So give yourself permission to adjust in seasons where you need to. And she made the point, like she finally got to a stage where her kids could go to like a preschool 2 days a week. And so on those 2 days, she had way more time to work. And so she would send out, instead of 5 invitations on those days, she would send out 30 invitations on those 2 days. She would still be reaching the same number of people as if she were doing it 3 to 5 invitations a day, but she would just up the amount of work she was doing on the days where she had more time. That's very applicable, like, to those of you who are nurses and have days where, like, you're not going to get a lot of work done on the days that you're working, like that you're, doing your nursing job. Like there's just not there's not a ton of time for that. I admire what y'all do whenever you have the small breaks that you get. But just know, like, when you have days like that, whatever your life, whatever your schedule looks like, do the more important things when you can. I think that's the majority of that. It says we have less than a minute left, so not much time for discussion. But I did have to put this in here at the end. Use your business planner. Like, it goes along with this call really well. Don't overanalyze it. Just jump in and start using it if you haven't already, because it aligns with a lot of these ideas really well. So, anybody want to say anything before it cuts us off?
I said it already, but I was dumb to not use the business planner. It's helped a lot, even though I'm still like tweaking things, but it's kept me on track like crazy.
Good.
Thank you.
All right. Well, sorry if I talked too much tonight. I'm just so excited to see y'all. But thank y'all for being here. I really appreciate it. And I will see you soon. Talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Bye.